how their careers are sort of encapsulated over the final minute or so.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's we have some sets where we don't have Hannah in, obviously because of that. But sometimes you just have to go with your gut a little bit. And Journey, we haven't had those situations for her to have to inbound under that pressure and that duress. And, if she misses it, I can get hammered. Why was she in the game? If she makes it, you're like, oh, it was such a moment. But you go with seniors sometimes. And I'm thrilled for Hannah as like a daughter for me because she works on them. I think sometimes you just think, oh, it's so easy. Sometimes it's just such a mental block. But, you might not see that all the time. We have different ways to inbound it. It doesn't have to be Journey. But I thought Journey had a heck of a game. I'm sure we'll talk about her later. But Kylie and Hannah, I was so thrilled for them to end like that because they willed us, right? Hannah got that. She got the steal, right, when at the end. And Kylie got the charge with the moving screen because she was so defending so well. But they're, that's just seniors that love a place. They love their teammates. And they, Kylie was the one in the huddles that just was always shaking her head, like, we got this, even when, the runs happened.
You hear a lot of this time of year that X game feels like an NCAA
Mm-hmm.
game, and sometimes it gets over-exaggerated, but there's a lot of tonight that felt like, Georgia, West Virginia.
Right.
This team hadn't had a whole lot of games quite that tense down the stretch. Just for this team to get this experience, conquer it, knowing what's next.
Yeah. I thought it was really big. I thought, you try to just stay as a coach in the moment. But I was aware, like, we play a lot of young kids who are fallen stellar seniors. And I just felt like, those momentum swings. And, I challenged them at halftime, especially because they were not the loose and the aggressiveness as we saw on Sunday. We were much tighter. We weren't nearly as vocal. And at halftime, I just said, hey, look, I go, we got 20 more minutes. But if we want a shot at this thing, we got to somehow channel who that team was on Sunday. I said, win or lose, tomorrow's coming, and we're going to be fine. I said, but we got to have a much more concentrated effort to getting through screens and really communicating. And it really wasn't until that fourth quarter where I really saw the eyes light up again. And, momentum's a big thing. And if you let your mind go too far back or too far forward, and I think I just don't know if I did as good of a job as I should have getting them really ready for that moment. I tried to tell them how big that target was going to be. Credit Illinois, boy. They're young kids. They're going to be trouble, right? But I think 8 for them. She was shooting 30% from 3. And what did she hit? 3 for 3, right? So big time games, things like that happen. So I just felt like, we're just a little, maybe playing not to lose. So I'm really, really thankful we got the win.
As you mentioned, there were a ton of momentum swings in this game, a bunch of tiny moments that you could point out and discuss. Just what kind of are your prevailing thoughts about this game, about how you guys were able to pull out? You trailed by 6 early in the fourth quarter and you had to take a timeout. Just kind of what stands out to you about how you guys were able to get it done?
Well, I thought we got a couple key stops when we had to, when we were down 6, and we got some buckets. Some good hard-nosed buckets. We have a set that I really like with Hannah and Ava. But we did some really good, emergency switching. What, I don't know what other teams call it, but, some people switch all screens. Some people switch 1 through 3. Some switch 1 through 4s. Some don't switch at all. We were trying to not switch at all, but I was like, I want you to switch early and often. I don't care who's on whomever. And I felt like during that stretch, we were not worried if Hannah had to take 2. We were not worried if, Ava had to take, 1. And I think that was helpful. And I don't think I practiced that enough, quite honestly. I think I prefer one way, and so you get in practice sometimes, and you're like, we're going to be good, we're going to be good. Save their legs. but I was sure beating myself up when I wanted to switch everything. But they did it when they had to.
Jan, that set between Hannah and Ava down the stretch, just wondering what your thoughts were about how crucial that bucket was and how that play was in terms of maybe giving you all a little bit of breathing room with those seconds.
Yeah, it really was. I just didn't. Tonight was just, there wasn't a lot of, I got to get chat going again. Usually I have some sets I can go there, but that wasn't working right now. She came up with defense at the end, but I got to get that going. But you just go to those consistent pieces. And, I talked to Ava a little bit. I think she looked a little winded tonight, but I think she played, not really the healthiest on Sunday, and all of a sudden you're already here again. No excuses. I just say, hey, look, I believe you're an All-American. I said, we got to start, we got to go, right? There's no more time. And, but not in a cranky way, just trying to remind her to the moments, right? And I said, we're going to give you rests and blows whenever we can. But that time is that was the time to go to those two. Hannah is just showing that, fortitude, and Ava's stepping into those big moments.
Coach, having mentored so many post players over the years, how would you describe the progress that Asia's made in the critical freshman to sophomore year? And then also, could you talk about, is this team, have they overachieved in some ways based on how young they are, that they're poised to get a number 2 seed?
Yeah, first off, Ava, I think from this time to a year ago, exponentially, she has really, really answered the call. And actually, Chad Leistikow had a really great article, Des Moines Register, on Ava, and Ava was really raw in it. And a lot of times kids won't really tell you when they're kind of self-focused and bummed and I wasn't really the best teammate or whatever. But she kind of flipped over, really worked, got her shot at the end of the year, and then worked this summer. But I think what's interesting about Ava is that she was really good to start the year. You could see that jump. But she's a lot better now than she was in November. She's a lot better now than she was, at the end of December. She's really kind of, I think, understanding that next level of what it takes and understanding, reading her body, how tired she is, but really pushing it with extra work. And I'm really trying to work with her, and Randy Henderson's doing a great job with angles and trying to understand the next pass and not working so hard here because you're going to conserve it when you get it there. And I think it's just been really fun to watch her starting to really grasp that. And I honestly think this whole team has been pretty fun like that. We just find different ways to win, and Ava's a big catalyst for that. Different people, like tonight, what Shauna did, they fronted the bigs and played behind the fours. A lot of people will front everybody. A lot of people will play behind everybody. A lot of people will sag off this person. So for a relatively newness of the offense, because we made a little shift at the beginning of the fall, there's just a lot of, it's simple sometimes, but making the reads, and you're challenged in different games in different ways. And Ava's really staying steady with it. Earlier in the year, it could be really frustrated when people weren't really guarding us the way we'd practiced. And I think that's the growth I'd love to see the most. And our team, actually Jeff Linder of the Gazette, he asked me that earlier, and I hadn't really thought about it. And I think when you answer a question like that, you don't want to sell your kid short and think, wow, you've overachieved. I didn't think we were going to do anything, right? I thought they could have a shot because we have unique pieces. But you never know until you work with the team. And the minute we started to kind of form together, I thought, yeah, maybe. So I think that they haven't overachieved in the way they've worked and been open and really bought in. That has been consistent. But I think, what we have said, I think I was going to be, what are we, 20? What is our record? 9, yeah. And then the Big Ten, what is it? Yeah. I mean, we probably wouldn't. I mean, if you would have said you have to, put all your money on that, I probably went, well, wait a second. But USC, this league, you know, public opinion is like, oh man, Iowa, such a close game to Illinois. But when you watch them, you're like, huh, they're pretty good. Yeah.
Quickly, what is the nature of Hannah's injury?
You know,
How did she recover?
well, you know, she had that weird other thing. It was pretty sore, and we subbed her a little bit. You know, she'd given up a 3. I challenged her kind of hotly when she did that because it was like, but I think there was just a lot of emotion, and I don't know, you know, because she played through some adrenaline in Nebraska with that with her little shoulder incident. So now it was pretty ginger in the locker room, but I don't foresee anything, you know, that's season altering, but it is pretty sore. No, good.
And then, I mean, because of that injury, Houston got a big role early, but I'm just looking at the stats. I mean, she had 8 boards. Like, seems to be totally calm. Hitting a pinch
Journey?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that kid has been.
How does she keep doing that?
I've just, you know, I think we've gotten to talk about her earlier in the year, and what I've loved about her is she just she stays steady and she just shows up, right? And she's just been a wonderful, you know, asset because she's, you know, we had to do a little convincing to back up the 4. But I said, hey, you know, this will be the best opportunity. And she's got a little dog in her. You know, she can, you get her convinced, she's going to come in and she can handle it down there. Once we convinced her that you can use your quickness and do some up and unders, which we got a lot of work to do there, but man, it's coming. But her mentality, she's just a competitor, right? And she brings a steadiness, she brings a calm, a confidence, the ability to hit those, you know, elbow shots. I'm so confident in her with that. And I thought she was a big reason today. I thought she was a key to this win. And I'm really, really proud of her.
You mentioned Chit Chat a little bit earlier, going through a bit of a shooting slump in the last 3 games, but she hit 4 free throws, all 4, all in the fourth quarter. Can you just talk about how big it was that she was able to kind of shake off the woes?
Yeah, I'm really thankful with that. You know, Chat's got it. She's so fit. She cramps a lot. And we got to get that figured out. I think that's what I was really, when she hit those free throws, because that's all legs, baby. And I was like, ooh, she's just, we're kind of searching with the cherry juices and the massages and the Normatex, but you just, you know, she's all solid muscle. And so I was thrilled for her on that. And I think it's just sometimes, you know, she's pushing a little hard, but when your body doesn't feel as loose and ready, I think I'm working on that a little bit. So I think part of it is that I got to make sure she's hydrating and eating right. You know, you're not with them 24/7. But this is, you know, big stage for her, you know, here continuing to navigate things. And so just, I need to get that figured out because she's, you know, a lot of athletes do cramp like that. But her hitting those, I think, is going to be so helpful because they were big time. And I really want to parlay that into the confidence that she was able to do that despite being a little off in some of the other shots.
Coach, what did you notice about your team's defense, but more specifically just their ability to get stops down the stretch in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I think that's what was so great. You know, I was hopeful that would have started the game better. And then I think we started off pretty well. And then when Hannah went down, it was just a weird, and I'm not saying that was the reason, but all of a sudden the mojo just kind of shifted. It's like everything was good, we were rolling, and then when she went out, it was like we scoring, and it wasn't Journey. It was just like other kids. It was like they were getting downhill, and then they got confident. But in that fourth quarter, we got a little edgier. And I'm telling you, I think they're a really good team, and they run a lot of great stuff for their personnel. And it's really difficult when you have a 5 and a 4 player, and you're guarding guard actions. You get a little more fatigued because you have to handle flares, you have to handle a pistol action, you got to go get a gap to get under the screen, and you're putting a lot of different energy on defense as a big. So, man, I just like, the difference was we emergency switched and we just locked in a little bit better. And I just think that goes back to their resiliency. So I was so proud of them.
You, I mean, obviously, you've had Tim and Cave go out, you've had, Chet is kind of going through some things right now. How important has it been to have Taylor Stremlock kind of step up in a
Yeah.
situation where
I'm glad we
you're
talked
kinda
about
getting to
her.
the point
Yeah.
of the rotations where you can't have too many people off or injured? How important has it been
Yeah.
for she had 11 assists?
Yeah, I mean, 11-2, which was fantastic. And I think another big story was we had 10 turnovers at half. They had 17 points off of those. We had 1 in the second half. And that took everything we had, right? The margin of victory was slight. But, I mean, Stremlow, you just can't say enough about her, I know we got to shore some things up with the drives, every position. But she just, just has a swag and a confidence. And I thought her floor game was just stellar tonight offensively. She was finding the right people at the right times, and she wasn't taking too many gambles, especially in the second half when it was so tight. But for her to get her first career double-double, I thought that was really sensational. And I think that everybody really had some key minutes. But I think Journey Houston's minutes, and I think the way Taylor kind of picked up when, for Chad a bit. And I think that's why this team, they're pretty doggone selfless. They keep passing that baton around. I've talked about that. And even though maybe they want to play a little bit more, we're like, oh my gosh, he's got 11-2 type of game. It's like, and Journey, everybody's cheering her. She's playing a little bit more minutes. And that's really what it takes to be, have a pretty successful run. And, I hope we can continue that on Sunday at Wisconsin and then beyond in the tournament. But that ability to be happy for your teammates and pushing them forward, I'm really, really grateful for that.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you covering women's hoops, especially us.
I shouted you out on Twitter yesterday.
Jan's been saying all